All right, good evening, everyone. As attendees are filing in, we'll give you a few moments.
Owen, how are you
Right.
today? Oh, sorry. I was going to start a conversation with you while people are trickling in.
It looks like it's slowing down. I think we have most here. So welcome to the Georgia Virtual College Fair, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions that are happening as part of the Georgia Virtual College Fair, so certainly be sure to sign up for additional ones, the place where you originally registered. And also there will eventually be a recording of this presentation and all others in about a week's time. So feel free to check those out. And I'd now like to turn it over to our presenter, Ethan Sawyer.
Awesome. Thanks, Owen. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm bringing my Georgia. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina originally. And but I was also a missionary kid, so I moved around a bunch. But here's my screen. I'm going to be tiny in the middle, in the side of the screen. I'm college essay guy. I'm Ethan Sawyer. I'll tell you more about myself in just a minute. This is going to be, pretty relatively fast. I'm going to try and get through the content in 35 minutes so that we have 10 minutes for Q&A. There's a little link at the top, collegeessayguy.com/get-the-handout if you want to get the handout. I'll flash that up in a couple minutes as well, in case you're getting settled, getting your tea or whatever item of choice you want. Now, when I've done this presentation in the past, it was kind of like there were so many resources that I was sharing. It was kind of like that old commercial, which if you're a student, you won't remember this ad, but parents or counselors, you might remember this ad where the guy sits down in front of the speaker system and just gets blown away. And it is with good reason. I was a kid who didn't grow up with a lot of money. Our family, whenever we go to a buffet, we would just kind of be like, oh my God, we can have everything here. And so this was me 2012 to 2019, I was kind of using the buffet approach for all my presentations. And I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I'm trying to do tasting menu presentations. So that, as I was thinking about that and putting together my presentations, I'm like, I need to become more tasting menu. So that's what you're getting today. You're getting kind of the tasting menu. I'll give you little samples of these different resources, and then I'm going to show you where to find the buffet if you want to come back for more. I guess I'm mixing my metaphors there. Or it's like this weird restaurant that has a tasting menu, but also has a buffet. And they probably need to organize and pick one, but I clearly haven't. So we'll start with a few snacks. I've got a couple games I want to play, both of which I find are really useful for helping students think about not just personal statement topics, which I spend a lot of time thinking about, but also how to manifest yourself in other parts of the application, which I also spend a lot of time thinking about. And then I'll spend a little more time on the activities list, which I think is sometimes an underutilized part of the application. The why us essay, why do you want to attend a particular school? If you're applying to, for example, Georgia Tech, or you're applying to, I'm out in California, so if you're applying to USC, or in between, if you're applying to Michigan, they ask for a why us essay. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how do you address that coronavirus or COVID-19 section, which has now popped up in the Common App there's a little additional 250 word section. So I'll talk about that a little bit. And then I'm going to give you nine little what I call tasty morsels from the College Application Hub, which is basically the go-to spot where I've just loaded a bunch of, that's the buffet. Basically, I'm going to give you a little preview of the buffet of all the things. Here's me wearing a different blue shirt. I usually just basically wear different blue shirts. I went to Northwestern, got a master's. I am a master of acting. I got some counseling certificates and found that I just had so much more joy and just loved helping students with their personal statements and applying to college. So basically for the past more than 15 years, I've spent a lot of time helping students with their applications. Started a blog called collegeessayguy.com. Lots of people go there. We offer tons and tons of free stuff. That's kind of my thing. And we also have this Matchlighter scholarship for low-income students that is currently closed, but we're going to probably reopen it in just a little bit right after the early application deadline. So if you know a student who could use some support, you can have them sign up. And what else? Let's play a game. So this game's called I Love, and I need to time it. So I'm gonna grab my phone. There's probably some rule about Zoom where you're not supposed to go off screen. It's kind of like radio silence, but all right. So I'm gonna set a timer for 30 seconds, and I'm gonna give you a list of things that I love. And that sounds kind of random, but just bear with me. Here we go. So my name's Ethan, and I love water. I love when water is like a really good temperature. I love productivity. I love playing games with my daughter. I love card games. I love strategy games. I love Thai food. I love being on time. You kind of get what I'm doing here. And that's 20 seconds. I want you, though, to do this for a minute. And I don't care if you're a parent, counselor, student, or whatever. I want you to take a minute. And I want you to, if you've got somebody next to you, do this aloud and the other person can type. Or if you want to just type, open up a Microsoft Word document or text edit and do this. All right. So for a minute, I just want you to make a list of random things you love. I'll tell you how this connects to the application process in just a minute. Ready? What do you love? 3, 2, 1, go. Don't think about it too much. What else do you love? You got about 20 seconds. Ten seconds. Time's up. All right. Next game, and then I'll explain what we're doing. This one's called I Know, and it goes like this. I know a lot about college essays. I know a lot about basketball. I know a lot about free throw shooting form. I know a lot about productivity. I know a lot about breathing. I know a lot about the International Phonetic Alphabet. I know a lot about theater. I know a lot about Chekhov. I know a lot about Shakespeare. You keep going. Okay, so make your list. We're gonna do another minute. I want you to make a list of things that you know a lot about. Really do this, okay? If you just sit there quietly, it's gonna be kind of boring. But if you do this with me, you might find your college essay topic. All right, 3, 2, 1. What do you know a lot about? Go. List as many things as you can think of. Fifteen seconds. All right, time's up. One more game, and then I'm going to tell you how this all connects to the college application process. So this is called the Islands of Personality exercise. Now, I'm not going to show you the clip right now, but if you've seen this movie, Inside Out, which I, for some reason, always call In and Out, because I guess I'm obsessed with hamburgers. There are these emotions inside this girl's brain. And this girl, Riley, has all these core memories, as we all do. And the main character in the movie, Joy, who's seen the middle character here, describes these core memories. And she shows one that's like hockey, this hockey memory that the girl has. And she says that when we have these core memories, they create these islands of our personality, like these different sides of who they are. So what you'll see on the screen here from left to right is like family island. Then she's got like friendship island, the second one. And then she's got like hockey island here, and then goofball island, her silly side. So she's got all these different sides of herself. So my question to you is, and this will be kind of like, whatever, 30 seconds to a minute, but I want you to see if you could list what are some of the islands of your personality, which is to say the different sides of you. Like for me, I've got the, college essay guy island, which is like my work teaching, work with students. And I've got like dad island because I have a 5-year-old. And then I've got like writer island because that's something that I love to do. And I've got like basketball island because that's something else that I love. And then I've got like games island because I really love those. So spend half a minute. What are some different islands of your personality? And again, parents and counselors, I want to encourage you to do this too, because it's kind of fun. All right, maybe you've listed a few by this point. How does this all turn into, like, for example, a personal statement topic? Or if you've already been working on a personal statement, how do you know that that personal statement is revealing a bunch of different sides of you? Well, there's this exercise that I like, and it involves taking something, for example, that you know and love, know or love, which could be the same thing, according to Camus, and you write it at the top of a piece of paper, like I wrote games, and then you try and connect it to as many different values as you can. So for me, I can connect games to just about anything, to connection, to creativity, because I love inventing new games. Fun, that's kind of an obvious one. Family, I've got lots of memories of playing games with my family, and I could show that island of my personality. Competition, I'm like low-key competitive, although I try to hide it. Knowledge, I've learned a lot through games. I could also connect it to social justice. I could connect it to vulnerability. And so the fact that I can connect it to so many different things tells me that games might be what I like to call an elastic topic. So one of the things you're looking for when you're coming up with a personal statement topic is, number one, is it elastic enough to stretch and talk about lots of different sides of you? And then second, if possible, is can you find something that's somewhat uncommon? So take a look through your list really quick of your I love and I know list, and ask yourself, is there something around on one of these that could either be A, elastic, to talk about lots of different sides of you, or B, maybe somewhat uncommon. Ideally, you can find something that's both. And I want you to, if you happen to have a piece of paper nearby, or you can do this later, write it at the top of your paper. So, for example, games. And then you can do this later because it might take you too long right now. But and then you can take this list of values, which I will share with you in the handout, and you can try and connect whatever that thing is to as many values as you can think of. And this is kind of like a 1-minute test, because if you find that you're just not able to connect whatever that thing is to many values on here, it may not be the best topic. Or if you already have a topic picked out, how many values are you connecting it to in your essay currently, whatever your stage of your draft you're at, to end with a preposition. So this is a nice simple topic test. And it's either good for, like I said, generating a topic when you're trying to come up with something, and it could be something you know or love, or it could be that you've got something that you're already working on and you're like, I don't know if this is like the right topic for me. And and you might look at this and be like, oh, you know what? I could bring a lot more variety into my personal statement by connecting to lots of different sides of me. Now, what we'll do at the end is I'm happy to answer more questions about the personal statement, but this is just one of like 8 different ways that I've found to pretty reliably generate a personal statement topic. Okay, this is called the I love or I know method. And again, the way that you do it is you take the thing, connect it to a bunch of different values, write a paragraph on each of these values, show how, for example, games can help you develop your connections with your family or those relationships. And what has that brought into your life, right? Another paragraph on how is that connected to your creativity? How have games made you more creative? And then what in your life does that connect to? Each one of those paragraphs is going to show some new side of you. And it's going to give you kind of like a backbone for the essay, a central theme or thread. Okay, now this is what I call a montage essay, which is to say you've got a central topic or theme, and you're jumping around in space and time to talk about lots of different sides of you. Some students will choose to write about a challenge, a challenge they overcame and what they've done about it and what they've learned. but most students I find don't have a compelling challenge. And so something like this, a montage, is totally a great way to write your essay. Okay. I don't have time to get into the other 6 ways right now. I'm happy to chat about them in the Q&A. All right, so that's some personal statement stuff. Now we're going here. So if you want to take out, I've got a cool QR code. Take out your phone and you can like scan this right now. It'll take you right to the page where you can like type in your email and get the handout. And I'm going to just pause for like 30 more seconds to give you a chance to do that. Or you can just go to the collegeessaguy.com, get the handout, or do none of that and just watch my screen because I'm about to share with you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the other screen, the screen behind the screen. All right, here's my tasting menu. So we've gotten some snacks, the I Love, I Know, and the values exercise. And then there's a little video clip so you can watch that core memories thing so you can know what the heck I'm talking about. I want to share with y'all some larger dishes, the 3 resources for improving your activities list. So your activities list, if your personal statement is like the 650-word essay that you're going to send out to lots of different schools, on the Common App, you've got something called your activities list, which is basically your brag sheet. It's your resume. It's not showing who you are, i.e. personal statement. It's showing what you've done. And here are 3 resources that I find to be incredibly useful. The first one's called the BBS exercise, which is a super silly name, and I should probably change it, but it's an acronym that works. It's the best extracurricular activity brainstorm I've ever seen. Now, this one's really useful if you are writing extracurricular activity essays, but it's especially good, I find, for when you're trying to up-level your activities list. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's say you've done some activity like, I don't know, whatever it is. Let's say it's basketball, something common. If you fill in and you answer these 5 questions, you're going to have a ton to say in your activities list. You're not going to be able to fit it all in. But when you think about basketball, you go, okay, well, what did I do? What have I literally done? Well, sure, you showed up for practices and you motivated your teammates, but what else? What else did you do? And I've got another resource that I'll share with you in just a minute to help fill that in. Another question to think about, especially whether you're doing your activities list or writing about an extracurricular activity, is what problems did you solve? Now, you might not initially think of your extracurricular activity as being like a problem-solving endeavor. You're just like, well, I just like showed up and played ball. But think about it, and think about it on all these levels. Were there any, personal things that it helped you solve, or, within your team, were there any issues you had to resolve? Lessons learned, skills I gained. Now, this one's going to be somewhat straightforward, but again, I'm going to share with you that values exercise. If you think about what you learned in the context of like all of this stuff, like there's probably some, uncommon things that you could point to in here beyond discipline, hard work, and perseverance, right? Which is what everybody's going to say in their basketball essay or activities list description. Okay. And then impact you had. So what impact did you have on your teammates, on the other team, on like if you taught basketball or if you mentored, what impact did you have? What number, did the numbers, for example, if you did a club, did the numbers change? Was it all dudes in the club? And then, you were able to get some more diversity in terms of gender. And how do we know? Give us some numbers. And then how did you apply what you learned? So beyond just, oh, I learned to become a better basketball player, or I became a better violinist, how did you take the lessons that you learned and apply them elsewhere? Underneath this, I've got a huge list of questions that you can think about, often to just help you remember stuff that you, like what you did. And I don't think it's, especially if you're writing an essay, it's, I think spend at least 5 minutes thinking about this for your activities list descriptions. But if you're writing an essay on this, spend 20, 25 minutes on this. And you'll see some examples here. Again, I'll share this in the handout that you can get. And then the other resource for really up-leveling this is one that I mentioned just briefly. I call this the epic verbs list. Now, when it comes to demonstrating what you've done, it's really important to be specific about what responsibilities you had. And sometimes students are like, well, I don't know what words should I use? And I'm like, oh, what? You want me to just create for you a list of like all these different verbs? Voila, here it is. So this is an epic list of activities list verbs so that you can, like I said, remember what you did. So, if you're trying to talk about, I know I did some leadership stuff. Well, what kind of stuff? Did you coordinate? Did you prioritize? Did you evaluate? That's going to take you beyond just like I led to demonstrate leadership, right? Or when you communicated, did you co-author or correspond or mediate, right? So some of these verbs are going to help you show a lot more variety when it comes to your list. Now, once you've done that, I like to do what I call a values scan, which is basically looking at your descriptions for your activities list and asking, okay, what value does this demonstrate? Okay, so you can go back to that values list that I mentioned, and you can ask yourself, okay, I've got this description. Am I showing a range of values? And I think it's good to show 2 or 3 values per activity at least. If you can show more, great. So that's activities list. I know I'm going fast. And then you've got this why us essay, which not all schools are going to require, right? Some of those schools that you're applying to, if you're applying, anyway, I'm not going to name specific schools because I want this to be more evergreen, but some schools will require this essay and some won't. And one of the things that I love to say about this is that this is a research essay. And I've got this thing called the Research Chart 2.0, which is pretty simple, but might help you think through, well, what do I really love about this school? Oh, wow, we got a bunch of people on this doc. So what do you want from the college? Generally, this is what I want in terms of my major, but is there a niche? Is there anything more specific, in terms of business? Is it marketing, entrepreneurship? What does the school offer? So specific majors, institutes, classes, or internships. And then this is super duper important. How will you contribute or engage? What have you done, right? What would you like to do? And then beyond academics, what are your other interests? Clubs, speakers, performers. What are the specific opportunities on campus? Ways that you identify, LGBTQ, feminist, first gen. What are those things? And then how will you contribute? Okay. So by spending, I think you should spend at least an hour, even if it's a short essay, researching the school. It's probably going to take more to find specifics that set the school apart from other schools, right? Beyond just like, oh, they've got a psychology major. Well, it's like, yeah, most schools are probably going to have a psychology major. So you're going to want to get specific about what the school offers that sets it apart from other schools. And what can you say about yourself that's going to set you apart? Because you're not just trying to say why the school is awesome. You're trying to go back and forth and say, here's this awesome thing that you have, which connects this with this specific thing that I'm interested in. Okay. But you're probably wondering, well, Ethan, give us some examples. You got it. Here are 3 approaches to the YS essay in about 5 minutes. The basic solid approach that includes a bunch of reasons sounds like this. Mark Twain was a steamboat pilot. Agatha Christie was a nurse. Robert Frost was a light bulb filament changer. The best writers don't only write beautifully, but also integrate their personal experiences and knowledge outside the world of literature. By combining the study of literature, media, and perhaps law, I believe the University of Michigan will provide the education necessary for me to evolve as a journalist. Super clear, straightforward. The hook is short. It's only about 40 words long. And then he's got a really nice, clear thesis here. Now, this YS essay is about 500 words because it's from Michigan. But notice the way he's got a clear path. And this is like, I know, English AP Lit 101. But I think that's a good format for these YS essays because you're trying to make a case. And the case is right here. Your school and I are a great fit for these reasons that I'm going to outline. And notice that this creates his path: literature, media, and law. This paragraph's going to be on literature. This one's going to be on media. And this one's going to be on law. Okay. I'm just going to go through the next paragraph so you can kind of see a basic how a YS works. A journalist can't reach the peak of his craft if his knowledge of literature and critical thinking skills are weak. I've highlighted that in bold so that you know that's what this paragraph's about, which is why I'm excited to explore what the Department of English has to offer. I look forward to courses such as, notice the capital letters, academic argumentation and professional writing. That's how I know when I scan a YS if a student's done their research. And I look forward to courses like this and this, as I believe these will, here it is, this is important, as I believe these will provide me with a firm basis in journalistic writing technique and improve my abilities to write analytically and develop well-supported arguments. This is the jam, y'all. This is what you're trying to do. First half of the sentence, here's why them, the specific thing the school offers. Second part, how does it connect back to you? It's going to give me these specific skills or teach me this particular thing or help me connect this particular value or interest. Okay. And that's what he does. Wash, rinse, repeat with all of his reasons until he gets to the end. And he also wants to give back, which is awesome. So that's one approach you can take on your YS essay. Approach number 2, and this is harder to do, but I think that it can help set you apart a little more, is to find 3 to 5 opportunities that are particular to the school. How do you do that? You do lots and lots of research. So in this essay, he begins with a more, I think a little more clever hook. When I have ever had time on my hands, I hook myself up to my EEG and analyze my brain waves. Super nerdy, and I love it. He talks here about neurophysiology in this first paragraph. And he says, as someone who's long been passionate about neurotechnology, the fact that Cornell is unique in offering classes devoted specifically to the field is very important to me. Boom, number 1, here's a reason that sets Cornell apart, and it's connected to a thing that I love because I just told you about why I love it. Next paragraph, I want to work with Dr. Chris Schaefer. Why? I put it in bold. Whose research on deep neural activity is not being done anywhere else in the world. Now, I don't know how he knows that, but he must have done a lot of research. But, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. That's 2. And then he sat in on this professor's class. You don't have to sit in a professor's class in order to write a great Why Us. And he says, I want to go to Cornell because of teachers like her. And then he talks all about how classical languages help inform the way our brain works, not inform the way our brain works, but basically our brains work better if we study classical language. Is kind of the gist of this paragraph. And then, oh, by the way, Cornell is also the only university I'm interested in that offers a speaking course in Latin, conversational Latin. I mean, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, this school is clearly a good fit for you, right? Can you do this with every single school you apply to? If you do a heck of a lot of research. But if you can't do it, you can fall back on the basic solid. Just give me a bunch of reasons, get as specific as you can about the school and as specific as you can about you, and make sure you're connecting them in the same sentence. And that's going to get you there. Now, there's another approach that's a little more risky, and I don't necessarily recommend it for all schools. But if it's really short, if there's a really short essay, or if the school, like Bowdoin, for example, asks you to focus on a particular value, you can do that. And I'm not going to read this essay here. You can read it in the handout. But this is like focus on one particular value. Like in this case, the student focuses on connection to place. And he goes all in and tells this beautiful story about connection to place. Doesn't even mention the school until the very end of the essay. And we get it. This thing that you are super connected to, place, is something that Bowdoin is super connected to because they've mentioned it in, their prompt. And we get that there's a fit there. But it's a little harder to do, I think. So I'm not saying don't try it, but I think that for my money, this one is kind of I would try to get this one. If you can find those specific reasons, great. All right. How do you write about coronavirus or COVID-19? Okay, this is a super brief guide, and I've got a much longer guide. If you just Google coronavirus college essay guide, which I probably shouldn't ask a lot of people to do, but anyway, there's a full guide to this. And I'm going to show you how full this guide is, just so you kind of know that I'm not joking. So it's got like bunches and bunches of stuff, but I'm about to give you the 3-minute version of this. So there's, on the Common App, there's a 250-word section, and the Coalition app is a 300-word section. Now, if you're applying to other schools, like MIT, for example, also has a 250-word section, even though they're not on the Common App. But you can answer this in bullet points. If you're talking about challenges you faced, I recommend doing like 1/3 of your bullet points, or whatever you're writing, devoting that to challenges and effects, 1/3 to what you did about it, and 1/3 to what you learned. So maybe you were having to share a computer with like other people in your house, or it was like loud and noisy, or whatever it was. What did you do about it, and what did you learn through the experience? Okay. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Because sometimes students, I've been seeing drafts where students are like just talking about all the challenges. And I'm like, okay, but colleges want to know not just the challenge, but how did you metabolize those experiences, right? What did they shape in you? What values, skills, qualities, interests did they develop? Did you find an interest that you didn't even know you had before? If you're not describing challenges, I find that it's useful to focus on like 1 to 3 values. Again, using that, I should have like a game where every time I say values, I take a sip of water. So what are 1 to 3 values that you gained? Like maybe you focused on health. Well, great. What's the example? What are the specifics that led you to focusing more on health or, connection? Like maybe you felt really disconnected. So what did you do about it? I wouldn't recommend writing about coronavirus for your personal statement because, basically the Common App has said, hey, use this section for talking about this so you can talk about whatever else you want in your personal statement. Also, I think that a boring essay, and this is personal statement or supplemental essay, is going to talk about a common topic. It's going to make common connections, and it's going to use common language, right? And coronavirus is probably going to be a pretty common topic. Hopefully not, but maybe still. I think a standout essay chooses an uncommon topic when possible, makes uncommon connections, which I'll explain in a second, and uses uncommon language. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're going to write about basketball, and probably don't write about basketball for your personal statement because there are thousands of other people writing about basketball or debate or the mission trip, right? Or the big performance. Is there something that's slightly more uncommon? But if you can't, if like debate is like your thing and you like have no other ideas for topics, then make sure you're making uncommon connections, which is to say, take this, look at this values list and think, okay, what is everybody else going to say about whatever I'm writing about, my common topic, right? Discipline, hard work, perseverance. And how could I focus on some other values? And this is going to be a good tip for any montage style, which is to say jumping around in space and time, essay that you're writing. Okay, it's hard, it takes time, it's worth it. And it's the key to standing out, I think, on your application. And then I got the full guide there. Okay, cool. I think we're doing good on time. I'm kind of jamming here. I think I want to go to the hub. All right, so here's the hub. All the things. Let me just ping a few of these. So one of the most, I think, important things you can do at this point of the process, well, first of all, if you're applying, let me zoom back. One of the most important things to do in your college application process is to develop a great college list. And what do I mean by great? I'm talking about a balanced list, 8 to 10 schools, 3 of which you're pretty sure you can get into, right? Likely, those are your foundational schools. Above that, maybe 3 schools that you're maybe going to get into. And then you got your, reach schools that you're probably not going to get into, but it would be amazing if you could. Okay. And this guide here is going to talk to you about how to develop a great college list. Okay. It's got tons of stuff. It's like 20 pages long, but it's got links that you can click to. It's all free. And the resources in there are all free as well. Then I've got this college application admissions timeline. If you happen to be a junior, sophomore, or a counselor reading this, there's a whole step-by-step guide to all the things, basically. If you're wanting to research and you're like, where do I find all the things? Here are some tips and resources, and there's a spreadsheet to how you can, to all these basically virtual events that are happening online through a bunch of different schools. If you're trying to figure out still, if you're applying early decision or early action, why it matters, I've got a podcast episode, and there's a cool track. Actually, let me show you this one. I'm going to probably end up sharing more than 9. Apologies. And totally overwhelm folks. Oh, here's a nice little flow chart that my friend Susan put together for trying to decide if you want to go EA or ED. But here's a cool spreadsheet that Jeff and Jenny put together that's going to give you all the early decision and regular decision acceptance rates for pretty much all the schools. Not all of them, but it might be useful to know that if you're applying to American, their regular decision acceptance rate was like 33% last year, and their ED acceptance rate, early decision, was like 84%. That could be useful. Whereas, it's not going to matter as much for other schools. I mean, it might matter for Bates, look, 8 versus 42%. For other schools, it's pretty similar, right? So for Brown, it's, yes, it matters a little bit more. It's a, 3.2, three times as likely to get in. For Carleton, it's, it matters a little bit less, So anyway, I don't want to say just apply early or don't apply early based on this chart. That is definitely not what I'm saying. Here's a whole guide to thinking through early action, early decision. I'm not gonna have time to go through all these, and I don't want to. I want to end in 2 minutes so we can ask you questions. Here are a bunch of resources for if you're just starting your application process. Lots of resources for personal statements with lots of different ideas and how to start your essay, how to know if your essay is doing its job, how to save time on the supplemental essay process. So this is supplemental essays are all the ones that you're going to need to write besides the personal statement. And there's a really good tip. I want to highlight this one called the super essay, which is how do you combine lots of your prompts to save time on the process? How do you write that YS? That's my whole guide on that. How do you write the short answer questions that some schools will require? Activities list. Another one that I didn't talk about is the additional information section, which is this big block of space. And students were like, well, what do I put in there? There are actually 10 or 15 things that you could potentially put in there, and I outlined some of them there. Recommendation letters are a good thing to do. Interviews when it's time. It's not time just yet. I should make this more evergreen. If you need help on interviews, there's an epic guide. Here, let me just show you one more, and then we'll do Q&A in a second. Here's how epic the guide is to interview questions. Why they give interviews, how to prep in an hour. And there's also, this is the ultimate guide, but if you want to just, do the hour-long version, there's not reading in an hour, but just prepping for an hour. There's a summary of that. And then once your application submitted, scholarship stuff, how to ask for more money if you want that, what demonstrated interest is and why that's important. And then lots of resources for students who are either homeschoolers, LGBTQ, resources on HBCUs and tribal colleges, low income and first gen. A lot of these are connected to podcasts, like the homeschooling one, for example. There's one on undocumented students. There are 2 actually, one from the student perspective and one from the counselor perspective. Women's colleges, veterans, pretty much all the things. Can you tell this is what I spend a lot of my day doing? So that's my time, or at least that's the time that I wanted to take for this. Let me go to the very end of my presentation and flash up the little Q&A slide, just so that it's official that we're getting into Q&A. And let me reshare my screen. So, oh, you know what? Also, for folks who wanted to get the handout, let me just go back to the beginning. Here we go. So just go to collegeessaguy.com/get the handout, and you can, you'll get an email that'll have like a link to the handout that I just walked through, that big Google Doc with all those. And we're in Q&A time. So let's see, what do we got? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, you guys were sharing me the I know and I love, or the what you love and what you know. Let's see. Hi, I'm a junior. I wanted to know if it's too early to go ahead and apply for early admission. No, because a lot of the early action, early decision deadlines haven't happened yet. So you're okay to do it. But the question is, can you develop a great application in the month that you have left that really represents you? If you feel like you can't, or you're worried you won't be able to put your best foot forward, then I would say, you can wait. So it's not gonna, they're still gonna look at your application. Let's see. Do you have any pointers on researching colleges? Yes, a ton. So go to that Why Us guide. Let me just show you where that link is. I'm going to reshare it. Actually, here, do this. Just Google Why Us College Essay Guy, and you'll see an epic guide, and it's going to have like 3 or 4 different places and ways that you can research. Just want to say you did a great job explaining everything. Cool. Tashana, I'm glad you're here. Is it okay to write a personal essay about a specific club at a university? How do you mean, Denisha? Will you be a little more specific? Do you mean you're going to write your own personal statement about a club that exists at a school? I would say if you're talking about it's like a school that you're going to apply to, I would say save that for your Why Us essay, and only talk about it in like closer to the end, because I want you to start and talk about academic stuff that you love at the school. But I also wouldn't write your personal statement on that if that's what you're talking about doing. I'm also a junior. Can I apply for scholarships now? Yeah, you can look them up. There's a cool website called Going Merry, MERRY. And I've also got a ton of examples. I've got a whole thing on how to write scholarship essays. So just Google scholarship essays, college essay guy, and you'll see a whole guide on that. Hey, I'm a senior and I want to apply for Statesboro, Georgia to become a veterinarian. Do you have any tips about getting started? Yeah, I mean, so I don't know what specifically those prompts are, but if you have to write a personal statement, I've got a whole guide to that. So just Google personal statement, college essay guide. Pretty much any part of anything that you're looking for, if you just Google something plus, really, if you just Google it, it's probably going to come up, but if add college essay guide, and you'll probably find a free guide to it. Is all the information you shared in the presentation on your website? Yeah, I think so. What's something you mainly focus on when writing essays? When I write essays, or when I encourage students to write essays? When I write essays, I think you're asking me when I tell students when they're writing essays. So there are 4 qualities that I look for. Number 1 is core values, which I've mentioned a lot. I'm looking for like, what are 4 to 5 things that I can point to and be like, oh, I could see what this person would fight for. Number 2 is insight. Do you answer so what in ways that are interesting, surprising, compelling? Number 3, I look for vulnerability. Is the personal statement truly personal, right? And then I look for craft. And craft is kind of like a later concern, but it's like, did the student clearly spend some time revising, making some choices about, what they wanted to put in their essay? So all of those, if you Google the Great College Essay Test, those are the things that, they're all in there. And there's a little video and there's a little PDF that you can kind of walk through and do a little test to see if your essay is doing all those things. When's the perfect time to apply for college? So you're saying that 11th grade is a good time to start? I would say 11th grade is a great time to start developing your list. Don't apply in 11th grade. You're going to want to start researching schools and learning what you're interested in. And you can also do explore majors in 11th grade. Mostly you want to spend time getting great grades, doing things you care about. If there's leadership that you want to take on, that's great. Do what you love. And then I don't want you to spend, 4 years applying to college. I think a good time to start filling out applications and developing a list is, at the end of your junior year. Okay. I'm a senior and just decided to go to college. Is there plenty of scholarships? I'm a little late. There are plenty of scholarships, Kevin. Yep, you've got time. Google scholarships, college essay guy. You'll see a bunch of links. Or Going Merry, like I mentioned. I want to know what I should do when looking for college if I don't know what I want to do in life. Good question, Alexis. So there's a website. It's called Coursava, Corsava, and it's going to help you figure out what you're interested in terms of a college. So there's a free, thing that you can walk through. It's in my if you Google, again, it's in the how to develop your college list resource. So just search college list, college essay guy, and you'll see Coursava linked. And there's this, it's like a 20-minute thing that you walk through, and it'll give you a sense of like, what are all the possibilities of things that you could look for? And then I walk you through a process of, based on, once you know what you're looking for, then you can kind of, research schools based on that with some links that I've set up in there. Ba-dum-bum-bum. I missed the first 30 minutes. Well, you missed the whole thing then. How do you write an essay about why I want to study my major? Why us essay? Any tips? So I did cover why us essay. If you Google why us essay, college essay guy, you'll see everything that you missed. In terms of the why major, just Google why major, college essay guy, and you'll see a whole guide. It's all there. The short version of it is, I want you to basically think of this as your origin story for whatever your major is. So if it's like engineering, it's like, when did it all begin? And you can kind of think of the different scenes of that development of that interest or that desire. And you can do a little, depending on how long it is, a little flash of each moment. I started off playing with dinosaur toys. Please don't mention Lego. Everybody who and their brother and sister mention Legos, especially if for engineers. If I wanted to graduate 1 year early, how many extracurriculars should I have? I'm not sure how to answer that. Because graduating 1 year early from college involves more than just extracurriculars. I would say once you get into college, you'll want to kind of talk to your advisor about that. And you'll want to see also how many students do that. And if they do that, what are some ways that they've done that? Let me see. I'm going to grab questions that I haven't answered yet. Is there a list of HBCUs on your website? So Google HBCU college essay guy, you'll see a guide to that, and you'll see links to a list of HBCUs. Yeah. I'm a junior. Let's see. Okay. I'm looking to go to school for a degree in graphics. Cool. I could write my personal statement on being a leader in graphics club, but I feel like my leadership as a wrestling manager has affected me more. Do you think the graphics club essay would help me more with this creative degree? Do you feel like both of these positions are unique enough to make uncommon connections? So Anna, I wouldn't personally recommend writing your personal statement on just one activity that you've been a part of. Why? Because I think that oftentimes schools are going to have supplemental essays, and they're going to ask, what's an extracurricular activity that you've been a part of? And I think writing about that is a good thing to do. There are going to be so many other possibilities for writing, finding what your topic is. So these could work, but there are other possibilities. Could it be, for example, different identities that you have? So who are you when you're in graphics club versus who are you as wrestling manager versus, and you could work in two or three other identities that you have. So I call that the identities essay. Right? So there's the I love, I know, which I mentioned earlier, which is like, here's the thing that I really know a lot about, which is like bringing people together. And here's how bringing people together is a value, a superpower that I've developed that manifests in all these different areas of my life. Right? So anyway, there's so many different possibilities. I wouldn't start with like the first thing that you jump on. And I would consider that, could that just be one part of your essay? And could you find another topic overarching that could help connect those different activities? All right, we're almost at time. We'll do a couple more. I'm a sophomore. Is it okay to send an application early? Wait till later. You're good. Get great grades. Take difficult classes, the most difficult classes that you can take, the ones that make sense for you, and start researching schools when it's time. But I would wait for the applications. Do you write your personal statement on something that's personal or something you love? Either can work. Let's see. I don't know if you're the right person to ask. Maybe. Coming from a family of 6, we don't have a lot of money for college. Do you think community college and then transferring to 4 years is better? So I would say, Gariel, talk to your counselor, first of all. If you have great grades, you have a shot at a 4-year school, and schools will oftentimes give you money. So don't count yourself out just because your family doesn't have money. There are a bunch of resources on the website for you to basically, first of all, talk to your counselor. And if your counselor is like, yes, you got a shot at college and your grades are solid, you can expand, you can create your list. Just go to the develop a great college list, college essay guy, and it's going to walk you through all of these ways of, all these resources that you can apply to college. But don't count yourself out. I was somebody who, my parents had zero money for college. I ended up at a great school and had a great time. I got scholarships. You can do it. Okay. So that's my time. I appreciate y'all. And I hope this has been useful. Over to you, Owen.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. When this window closes, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey that we would appreciate any feedback that you could provide. Also, just a reminder that this is one of many sessions being hosted as part of this virtual college fair, so be sure to sign up for additional ones. And if you're looking to go back and view any part of Ethan's presentation, the recording will be posted on the same website where you initially registered in about a week or so. Thanks again and have a great evening.
Bye, y'all. Thanks, Owen.